I'm Vicki Ferrara. I'm the owner of Worldwide Surrogacy. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for over 30 years. I'm gay. I have a partner and 2 children, which is really how I got into surrogacy, by being an out lawyer for many years, and then eventually my clients asked me if I could help them find a surrogate. And so about 15 years ago, we started matching surrogates with parents, and then we formalized it into our agency. With me today is Erin Colonies. She is our Director of Operations, and she has an iPad with her. If you don't mind, we might collect your email addresses so we could keep in touch with you. You can always opt out, but it gives us an opportunity to reach out again after this weekend. And we also have a card which will allow you to have $1,000 off our agency fee. It's not a lot in the scheme of things, but maybe it will help a little bit. So at Worldwide, we have a full team of people in Connecticut. Fairfield, Connecticut is where our main offices are. And I also have an office here in Manhattan. So if you would like to meet with me privately here in the New York area, that's totally possible. It's right near Grand Central Station. And we have a system where if you worked with us, you would have a case manager, and that would be your point person at the agency. You always have me. I would be your legal advisor. Surrogacy is complex legally, so you do need to have someone that you can go to and rely on to help you understand and get through the legal complexities. I am a surrogacy lawyer. That's all I do. I don't have any other areas of practice. I handled the most important case in the state of Connecticut, which changed the law for the better in Connecticut. I argued it before the Supreme Court there. I networked with many lawyers throughout the country. So if you have a surrogate through us who, for example, lives in Pennsylvania or Florida, we would know who to match you up with in terms of a lawyer in that jurisdiction. And then as the agency lawyer, we would keep in touch with that lawyer to make sure that the legal work is getting done. Also, we have on our team 2 surrogates, and one is a past surrogate and one is a current surrogate. And they are very good at recruiting and supporting the surrogates. I believe that there should be a 2-track system of case management. 1, you have a case manager, and 2, your surrogate has a support person from the agency that keeps in touch with her on a weekly basis at a minimum, and then usually more when things are happening. God forbid something happens like a miscarriage or a failed embryo transfer. Your surrogate has a support person. You shouldn't be the ones that have to support her, although you might become supportive to each other, but there should be a team of people supporting all of you throughout the process, and that's what we aim to do. There are 3 phases to the process. The first is this matching phase, right? In our program, it takes about 4 to 6 months to match you with a surrogate. It's sometimes longer, but we try very hard to match in 6 months or under. Depending on what your requirements are. Sometimes people say to me, we want a surrogate in Connecticut who has medical insurance. So when you set criteria like that, it can take longer to match you. But we would be coaching you through that process. So when you're making your wish list, we'll be coaching you and telling you how this will impact the overall process. So let's say you're matched in 5 or 6 months, and then we go into the second phase, which is the medical phase. In the very beginning of this point, we do a contract between you and your surrogate, very comprehensive document, and then she goes to your medical clinic for beginning the process toward the embryo transfer. That's about a 3-month period. And then hopefully we have a pregnancy, maybe the first time, maybe the second time. There's a high rate of success when you're using an egg donor and testing your embryos. So hopefully, again, we have a pregnancy, and then we go to the 3rd phase, which is the pregnancy. At that point in time, you're going to have a nice relationship with your surrogate, and you're going to be keeping in touch and sharing information. We're always there to be supporting you and to make sure, besides the health of the pregnancy, the most important thing is the legal work that gets done during the pregnancy, which is you guys become the legal parents of your baby before the birth. And that, as your agency, we're going to make sure it gets done. Either I do the work in Connecticut, or we have it done and we monitor that it gets done successfully in the state where your surrogate lives. And then the hospital knows, you know, the state of Department of Vital Statistics knows, everyone knows that at the birth of this baby, you're the parents, and you're respected as the parents. Surrogate, of course, is respected as the patient, and we give a lot of deference to her ability to make medical decisions, but if all goes well with the match and the screening, then you're together in this process, and you're making decisions together. And that brings me back to the beginning of the process, how we can ensure that you have a safe, sound surrogacy journey. And to me, one of the most important things that should be done is a screening of the surrogate. So if we do the screening right and thoroughly and sufficiently, then we know that we have really amazing, sound, stable women who become surrogates, and you are safe with this sound, stable person, and she is safe with you as the parents, and you become this group, this team of people that brings a baby into the world. What is the screening that we do to make sure of this? First, she has to have children. She has to live in a surrogacy favorable state. She has to be a certain age, between 21 and 40. They're usually about 25 to 38. She cannot be overweight. The medical clinics make sure of this, and not on welfare, and not on any kind of prescribed medication. If she has these preliminary criteria in her favor, then she goes to a full psychological evaluation with a licensed psychologist. If she's married, her husband goes through this as well. She takes a personality test scored by the licensed psychologist. We have a private investigator do a background investigation on her, and again, the husband if she's married. The private investigator actually goes to her home, no matter where she lives, and does a home check for safety, for firearms, who lives there. If there are any other adults in the household, they have to undergo the background investigation as well. And then all of her medical records from her pregnancies are gathered and submitted to your chosen medical clinic in order to have the physician approval on the records. So all of this is done before you meet your surrogate. And we might be telling you we have a profile for you to look at, or 2 profiles or 3 profiles, but we would not have you meet the surrogate until she's actually fully screened. And that way, we're not setting you up to be disappointed. We're hopefully going to make a match that's going to last and result in a child being born. Fees and costs, that's the one drawback of surrogacy in the United States, is the expense. Everything can be done ethically, legally safe, medically safe, a lot of support, a lot of knowledgeable professionals in the field in the US, but the expense is daunting. So I'm going to break it down for you from my agency's point of view. We think that on the surrogacy side, so not your medical clinic, that you need to be prepared for about $110,000 to $120,000. And the 4 main components that go into that, there are some smaller ones that you'd see on our sheet, but everything will fit into this global total. But the 4 main components, 4 main buckets are: 1, the agency fee. Our agency fee is $28,000. The only thing you pay up front is half of that, and nothing else until you have a surrogate that you're formally matched with. The biggest component of that overall total is the surrogate compensation. There, if you add up everything in your contract, you're exposed to about $55,000 or $60,000. You might not pay all of that. There might be some contingency expenses that you don't end up paying, like lost wages. They'll be capped, but if the cap is $10,000, you might only end up paying $2,000 or $3,000. But you have to be prepared for the overall total. You might end up only paying $48,000 or $50,000 to your surrogate. Then the third component is legal. All legal fees for your entire journey should be $10,000 or less. You have your lawyer for the contract, you have the surrogate's lawyer to review it, and you have your pre-birth order of parentage. So approximately $10,000. And then you have the insurance is another component. If we have to get medical insurance for the surrogate, that can add approximately $15,000 to $20,000 to the overall total, which is how you get to $120,000. Some surrogates have medical insurance that will cover surrogacy. Maybe about 40 to 50% of them do. So that would be part of your matching decision. When our program introduces you to a surrogate, part of the information would be she either has insurance and it's been reviewed and it will cover a surrogate pregnancy, or she doesn't. And if she doesn't, how will we get it and how much will it cost? So that's going to be, again, a lot of information that you would get when you're deciding on a surrogate. And you don't have to accept any surrogate that we present you with. We want you to choose your surrogate in the same way that the surrogate chooses you. We would only be showing you candidates that we know would work with you. So the way that we do this is any of our surrogates that are coming through the screening, we would show them your profile without identifying information. And then when we're showing you someone we already know, she's willing to work with you. So we're not going to set you up to be disappointed that way either. And she chooses you and you choose her, and eventually after she's screened and you confirm that you'd like to know more about her, we would set up a meeting. So the meeting becomes more like a formality that you're going to you already kind of know that you want to work together, but then you meet and then we confirm it. And then we go into the next steps. So it's, very wonderful and fulfilling. It's certainly not your first choice to come to surrogacy to have a baby, but if you do, you can have a really amazing experience with someone. And what we try to do for you is take the edge off, take care of the details, take care of the process and the procedures so that you could really enjoy the experience of having a baby. Isn't that what people do when they get pregnant and they are expecting their baby? They're excited, they're happy, they go to ultrasounds and they talk about whether they're going to have a boy or a girl, and their families get excited. And we want that for you. We want you to be having all of that kind of an experience, not to be fretting over the legal process, and not to be worried about who your lawyer is going to be in the other state, that we would be making sure all of that's happening for you. What was I going to say? It just went out of my mind. Well, let me ask you if you have any questions. There's too many to come up with one right now, right? Let me think, what was I going to say? Where would your surrogate come from? It's possible she could come from another state, not near where you live, but again, that's part of your decision making. You can have a preference where she lives, and we would honor that preference. The team would probably still show you surrogates that live in other areas, just in case. Maybe there's someone who has insurance that you like, even though she's not in the Northeast. That might work out for you. And our team is very experienced. Again, we've been doing this for 14 years. We had 97 babies last year, so every year we have a very good number of babies, and we're helping people through the process. I know what I was going to say. Sometimes it doesn't always go the way that we want it to go, and there are the what ifs. What if your surrogate has a miscarriage? You have to try again. Sometimes the same surrogate will try again, and sometimes you need a second surrogate. So I'd say less than 10% of the time, people would need a second surrogate. Hopefully it won't happen to you, but if it does happen, it's going to be frustrating. It's going to cause some delay, and you're going to lose some money. You won't lose all the money that you have saved for surrogacy, but you will lose some. You will have paid your first surrogate some money. You will have paid for some legal expenses. We'll try to minimize that, but you have to stay on the path, stay true to your vision to have a baby, and let the team support you, the medical team and the surrogacy agency team support you to moving on to the next step. Sometimes there's not a pregnancy, first time, second time. Again, you need to stay positive. We will help you. We will try to help you stay positive. We will be there for you to talk about things and work on the next steps, if there are next steps to be worked on, to make sure that you continue on your journey to have a baby. Rarely are there very difficult circumstances. Over the course of the past 14 years, only twice have we had kind of more devastating situations where there was a stillborn baby, just one time out of the many hundreds of babies that we've had, and then a later term miscarriage. Even in those situations, the parents took a little break, but they came back a year later. We found them another surrogate, and they had both, in both situations, had their children. Again, that's rare to have such a devastating kind of occurrence, but it's best to go into this knowing that there can be some hurdles and that you will stay close in your relationship. It can cause stress in your relationship, but there are people to support you. There are counselors that specialize in infertility and surrogacy hardships. So if you need to get counseling, you get it. There's no reason to have such a difficult time that you would entertain a breakup or anything like that. I mean, it is stressful, but this is the way that you become closer, by navigating these hurdles and hardships and then moving on to realizing your dreams. So we're here. Yeah, did you have a question? Oh, 2 minutes, okay. We're here for you. We can answer questions. I'll be around all day. I'll be around tomorrow. And we can definitely be available to answer questions. Does anybody have any questions now? Yeah.
Obviously, some states are allowed to do a pre-birth order, and some states you can't. Is that a significant issue in establishing, in selecting where your surrogate is?
Well, it depends on the process in the state. So yes, in some cases, like for example, in Arizona, a non-genetic parent would have to return to a home state and do a co-parent adoption. But some states do post-birth orders, like Florida and let's say Virginia, but they do it right after the birth. It's very seamless. There's no reason not to match in those states. We always want to make sure that you talk with a lawyer in those states where you might be matched, so that you understand. Like, I know a lot about the laws in the different states, but I'm not licensed to practice or give advice from those states. So I would want you, if you had questions about legal processes, to discuss with the lawyer that I would refer you to in that state. Someone else had a question?
Just roughly, how many of your clients, percentage-wise, would you say were local to Northeast versus, like, I'm from Georgia, or Southeast or West Edge?
Okay, so we have about, I'll just do a few demographics, about 50% gay male clients, about 50% straight clients, about 50% international, and about 50% US. The US clients, I'd say most of them come from the tri-state area, but in the last few years we've been getting clients from California, Florida, Atlanta, Chicago. So we definitely have parents from all around the US as well. And I don't think that really matters. I think it's always nice for you to come to our offices and meet the whole team and see where we work, but we work with so many people outside of the country even, that we do so much by Skype and email and phone that it works. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming, everyone. It's been great to see you, and if you want the coupon from Erin, or if you want to give us your email, that would be great.